everyone, I'm Josh Scott of JHS Pedals, and I'm here to guest host What's on Your Pedalboard. I've done this before. It was probably the best What's on Your Pedalboard that Sweetwater has ever seen. There's probably a link in the description. They might even pop up the little thing on the screen. I don't know, but it was really good. You should watch it. But I'm here today with good friend and guest, an amazing musician and artist, Madison Cunningham. How you doing?
I couldn't be better, to be honest.
You're playing a show in Fort Wayne the day before I teach a class here.
Explain
the chances.
Explain that.
It can't be explained. So let's walk through your board.
Okay.
And we're just going to give away all your secrets, except for your actual hands.
Well, good news is I'm really bad at keeping secrets, so there's no secret here.
So your amp, what
Yeah.
kind of amps do you typically play through for your sound?
Usually Fender Deluxe Reverb. It's like the wattage gives me enough headroom for the low end that I seek and the top end.
Okay.
Allows me to stay clean for longer.
And on your records, you do a lot of stereo, correct?
Yeah, a lot of recording double
Yeah.
amps, which I'm hoping to incorporate in the live setting.
Okay. And then we have to talk about your guitar, because I feel like it's an effect in itself, the way you play guitar and the way you tune it. So are we flat wounds?
These are flat wounds, yeah. These are, I believe, 13s. I was originally playing 11s and kind of had to step it up a little bit in thickness because the strings would wear out at the level that I play them. This is C standard. And this guitar is technically not a baritone, but I've turned it into one.
So give everyone your lowest chord so their jaw can drop. This is, to me, I remember first hearing your guitar. I think it was the EP before the last record.
Yeah.
And then gradually learning who you were, and then that record, I wore it out, and it was like, what is she doing? And then we filmed a video with you in LA at Tyler's studio, which is like the backyard studio. And I remember you trying to teach me Pin It Down. and after 20 minutes, I just stopped. I was like,
you were great.
I was like, my brain can't do this.
You totally can't. It's like
because it's
easy.
a tuning, and it's like there's this whole vibe. There's a phrase we use for you at the shop. It's like Madison Cunningham plays guitar asymmetrical.
I like it.
No, it's like a compliment, because it's like my brain just slides everywhere except what you're doing, and it's like I just can't land it. So that's part of your sound, is this tuning and that approach, and I think it's really fascinating. Do you use the trim? You don't. It's not here. I answered my own question. You never use the trim arm, do you?
I don't actually.
Okay.
I don't. It came with the wrong size when I bought it 5 years ago, and
Did
so
you
I
buy
gave
it
up.
at Sweetwater? Because we can fix that.
Honestly.
You are asymmetrical, and everything's wacko to me. It's like a really interesting, it's a brain thing for me that's fascinating to watch, especially live when you're singing and playing these. You're just doing all this stuff, and I can't compute it, and it's really entertaining. So what's the base of your sound? You have the clean amp, the tuning, which you're Madison Cunningham with that, I think. That's what I'm thinking. But there's some things that are the base of your tone, and what are those things?
Well, I mean, I should back up and say that I feel like I've always cared about tone because I care about sounding good, but the first time it ever really clicked for me was JHS Pedals, was the Emperor pedal, because it created this 3D warble that felt like a little bit similar to like a double speaker magnetone trem. It's like a cousin, I feel like. And
did you discover this? Sometimes I get the story wrong, but Tyler, your producer, what's the story with how? Because it ended up being literally the sound of your guitar.
Well,
what
he
happened?
reached out to you, I think. You sent him the Emperor and I think the Cub.
I believe it was those two.
Possibly an EQ of some sort. But for whatever reason, just in us recording kind of in his back studio, that just made it on every demo, and then it made it on every single recording. I literally put it on as a bass for everything. I'm talking about the Emperor. And that little warble, I just feel like provides this beautiful little safety net of sound and tone. And I actually started to use it, as an EQ as well, because there's an EQ on the pedal.
Yeah.
And so then after recording Who Are You Now, where we recorded a lot of it live, I translated that to my live sound and just really, really lean heavily on the Emperor until
there's a new pedal in town. There's
Yeah.
a new signature pedal. So
There's this new signature
this
pedal.
video is like a shameless plug for like this new pedal in Madison, but it's a great tie-in for me because I'm really proud of this pedal because I've done several signature pedals and I've worked with a lot of artists, and out of all of them, this is the absolute 100% truth, and it's super fulfilling for me to say, this is literally your sound. There's a difference. Like, I've done dirt pedals for people, but like, you know, if you line up 20 distortion pedals, you can kind of use a dirt pedal for anything.
Yeah.
Like, they are signature pedals, and they're important, and they're a piece of that artist thing. But this is like, when I hear you play, I hear the
expect
moving
this.
vibrato.
Yeah.
I hear this 3D, warbling, mildly seasick clean tone.
Well, now I don't feel myself without it. So it is signature in that way. And in when we were talking about it, there was different ideas that we were floating around. And I think when you mentioned, like, why don't we just take what you love about the Emperor and turn it into exactly the settings that you gravitate towards.
We worked on this over a period of, I don't know, 2 years.
Yeah.
But the idea was, I was watching you live. I saw a couple shows, and you had an Emperor setting, and it was kind of the slow moving.
I Sharpied it.
Like you
on.
Sharpied it on.
Yeah.
And then I noticed you were experimenting for the new record. I think you were writing and playing stuff. I'm not sure, but you were in Lawrence, Kansas. I came out, and you were bending over, and like you had a second sound. And so the idea was, you're not using tap tempo.
Right.
You're not using this box. You're using a very minimal thing, and there's a very specific sound. So we made you this pedal that is the two things you needed.
Yeah.
And so it's basically two presets, the little tone control, and it's a compacted Madison's vibrato sound.
The EQ and volume's still on it, and it saves me having this extra switch here. It saves me a trip.
Yeah, so do a passage without vibrato and then turn it on so that we can hear, because we've talked a lot about this Madison sound.
All right, so this is just note sans pedal. And here's the first sort of tremolo setting. This is the one that's the constant. It's always on. And then sometimes, like, I want it to kind of intensify depending on what song it is and want it to take on more of a tremolo feeling. Just hit the switch and it's already dialed in. That's what that goes for that song.
If you've seen Maddie, or it's either Maddie or Madison.
Whatever.
If you've seen Madison play, this has been on your board for a while.
Yeah.
This is the first prototype.
Yeah.
There are 2 working units in the world, and basically it's spray painted, and we just put blonde, because it's called artificial blonde. And how many people have asked you, what is this pedal?
So many people, like, I would get messages after shows being like, what is the blonde? And I felt really powerful.
Here's my favorite part.
Just how bent everything is.
Like, it's like this thing has been used. It's amazing. So
I love it. I remember you reached out to me and you're like, my main concern is that, when I make signature pedals, that people don't actually use it. So is it working? And I was like, you have no idea.
Yeah. It's super important because in the world of guitar signature pedals, I think a lot of them, the players don't really use them. And it's like, that annoys me. I could go on a soapbox about it historically because there's a lot of fascinating stories, but it's cool to make a pedal, to be a pedal designer and maker, to make a pedal for an artist you love that it is literally their sound.
Yeah.
It's quite fascinating and like it's a real honor. So the artificial blonde is always on.
Always on.
And you just switch between these 2 different flavors of the vibrato. And this is the first stereo pedal we've ever made.
Are you serious?
We've never made a stereo pedal.
Wow.
So, yeah,
How is that?
It's just because I never care. Because I'm selfish and I play mono. But we wanted you to be able to, in live, whenever, studio or whatever, to be able to actually have the stereo field like the Magnatone amp.
You get me.
I get you. So, what would you say is... We could just walk through them in any order. Like, show me your next thing that you use.
I mean, another interesting trick. So since artificial blonde is always on, I've been using the Cub as a slap delay / boost. So I always turn it just a little bit louder than than, you know, my baseline settings.
So when you turn on slap delay, it's a little louder.
Little louder, just so that it like serves as a boost and an effect at the same time. So that's kind of a fun thing that I just recently started to do. And then to the right of it, there's this Benson boost, which is literally a one knob thing. Like there's
amazing.
no time to fiddle with it. Yeah, do you?
Yeah, he's great.
It was gifted to me by my friend Anthony DaCosta. He came to a show in Nashville and was like, "Hey, take this," and it's great for that very reason. I also am a huge pedal minimalist.
Yeah.
So this is potentially going to be a very short episode because I really do love just knowing what my settings are, and I will adjust slightly depending on what the room feels like, because each room feels so different. But for the most part, like, I'm always on level 5 on my amp. I adjust bass and treble accordingly. But so this Benson. Gives it that.
So it mildly overdrives, which is nice.
Bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like, and sometimes I'll switch my tone toggle on my guitar. It gives it a cool crunch, and there's brightness to it as well. That's kind of the sweet spot during a solo. Tyler taught me that trick. He's like, if you want to solo and you don't want to use or like engage another pedal, sometimes just switch the tone toggle and it'll do something.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then to its right, there's the
little tiny Tidewater trim.
Yeah, which I haven't been using as much because I've just been so focused on the artificial blonde, but I'd probably usually go, like, if I ever use it, I make it pretty extreme.
So that's another form of this movement thing that's always in your sound.
Yeah.
Artificial blonde, pitch vibrato, is the pitch is moving. And then the Tidewater trim, the tremolo is volume is moving. They can sound pretty similar.
Yeah. I mean, they work kind of at the same time.
But it's something moving.
Well, and what's fun, not to bring it back to the artificial blonde, but to do that, I got, you know, I used tremolo as a bass for so long, and this amp tremolo is actually really beautiful too. But this feels like a graduation from that. It's like it's just it's a different form of movement that touches my ear in a less traditional way.
Do you ever use them well, you are using them at the same time.
They are, yeah, they're both on. This is what's happening.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's very seasick, and it's like your guitar is disappearing and reappearing. So I have a question regarding your tuner.
Sure.
Do you do the thing where you strum every string?
No,
or do you tune it once?
No.
So the polytune, I've yet to meet any player, including myself. I have a polytune on my board. You can open strum every string. What? This is a lesson on the TC polytune.
Do you mean like just like a full chord?
Yeah, no, just open. It'll show you each individual. Somehow it reads them. Did you know this?
No.
Nobody knows this.
So wait, so is the red telling me that that's flat?
Yeah. So you can view all 6.
I got 4 out of 6. That's pretty good.
But, and you're using vibrato.
Yeah. I try to tune with vibrato all the time, and people will be like, why are you doing that to yourself?
The secret to Madison's sound is she's always out of tune.
Yeah.
And to compensate, she has a large amount of pitch vibrato going on.
Yeah. Is that what you wanted to know? It's just true.
There we go. That's the unlock if you want to sound like Madison.
Just sound
nobody
terrible.
knows that. I always ask because it's like... And I don't know how practical it is. It's like fancy, but I'm still going to do the like...
I'll have to say, in a moment of like adrenaline and panic, there's no way I'm gonna look to that to help me. I'm gonna be like, oh my god, it's all screwed.
Right, and there's one remaining.
Yeah.
So how do you use this lone drive pedal on your board? Because you mainly are a clean player.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I go back and forth, but
Okay.
I do think I'm very drawn to this almost impossible medium, which is like I want it to break up right when I want it to, and if it doesn't, I'm a little annoyed. So like
Right.
I
Depending on how hard you're playing?
yeah.
Okay.
I expect a lot.
So the
From-
the pedal buzzword is the touch responsive thing, where like the harder you dig in, just like an amp on the Verge, you're able to manipulate it with your right hand, really.
Right, so like I want to be able to hear, like say for a song like this, where I'm playing this riff, I want that to be clean.
Right.
But I want to have the power to like, by the time the song is kind of evolving, I want there to be headroom for there to be like crunch. I think that also comes from like my dynamic from my hands. So it's like there's only so much a pedal can really do for that.
True.
So I spend a lot of time focusing on like, okay, pull back here on this verse and then dig in for this chorus, and usually the tone will like cooperate. But this pedal, this is called the Lightning Bolt, right?
Super Bolt.
The Super Bolt. I
To
just
you,
make up
it's the
names for
Lightning
all
Bolt,
of them.
though.
Yeah. This is Choppy Waters. I don't know.
Buy the JHS Choppy Waters and Lightning
Tiger
Bolt
King.
today at Sweetwater.
Never gonna find it. So yeah, the Super Bolt. I had been using this also as like as a tone control and
Okay.
a little controlled crunch.
It's almost like you're using it like a preamp of sort. You're
Yeah.
further shaping the already great tone you have.
Well, there's
now,
one.
This pedal will do pretty much fuzz, and you use
Yeah.
it extremely low,
Yeah.
which I see a lot of people do this. I was somewhere, and the Blue Oyster Cult guy, the Don't Fear the Reaper, he came up to me and he's like, "I use 2 Super Bolts and I turn them almost off," and I was like, "What?" And
You
that's
use
the first
2
time
on the same pedal.
he just
Board.
yeah, it's like using this Super Bolt as like this shaper thing was never intended. Yet you've done it for years. Other people do it. It's really cool.
That's really rad. I mean, it has the dynamics for it, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, lately what I've been doing is just I've been keeping it off and then turning it on for a song called Hospital that is like just
Okay.
naturally more distorted. And so it's set to the same exact volume as my amp, just more distortion.
I have seen you live with a heavier, like, I don't remember the song. I believe there was a moment in one of your sets where it got really distorted and it was like kind of a chaotic, like Radiohead airbag moment or something. Like, how did you just reach down and adjust that?
Yeah, I mean,
Or does it come because you're beating the crap out of your guitar? There's a little bit of that.
sometimes it's mainly that. Like,
Because
sometimes
you
it's-
probably have the cub on is boosting, everything's boosting, it's all on and it's chaos.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes I'll
Yeah.
turn them all on. There's this one song in particular, it's called Common Language, and at the end it gets
That's it.
hairy.
Yeah.
And that is a moment where everything,
Okay.
all the lights are on at that point, which is really fun.
It's a simple board, but it's like all you need.
I think it's a diet of all you need. Like,
Yeah.
again, I believe in minimalism, and I like things that are also easily fixable. Where it's like, I know that if one of these things breaks, I can send it to you
Yeah.
and it'll
Yeah.
be fixed.
Yeah. You can, it's all accessible. You could buy them at a store if you had to, if someone
Yeah.
stole them.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like, I love your rig because you're a unique mix of, you have a heavy emphasis on songwriting. The guitar is a piece of that.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're trying to be like some guitar shredder. But
Right.
inside of your songwriting, you're so unique that I think people are drawn to your guitar parts because they are very unique.
Yeah.
So you've become, I think you're like this accidental guitar hero inside of songwriting genre. Does that make sense?
I like
I
that.
think that's how that's happened. I mean, because I've watched even my coworkers and like even my daughter, I was telling you, like, there'll just be these comments of like, the guitar is never the subject, but it's always brought up.
Yeah.
And I think that's super cool.
Yeah.
In a world where it's like guitar shredders and like it's always like hyper over the top, one or the other.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool how your rig kind of represents that part of you.
I guess the guitar shredder, there's nothing against that.
No.
It's indulgence though, and I think I care so much about the 3 parts, which I always hope that not one is, taking from the other.
Yeah.
Just like guitar and melody and songwriting.
I guess to close out, like, who are some of your favorite guitar tone influences might be a heavy word, but when you got into this, you've developed a very unique rig and style. But what were the initial things that made you love electric guitar, and what are your favorite tones?
I mean, people who always sound good and like themselves is someone, Blake Mills, John
Blake
Bryan,
is incredible.
Ry Cooder. They actually, all three of them use a lot of open tunings as well. So there's just something about, I think, the balance that they've struck. I talk a lot about Juana Molina.
Molina. She's incredible.
Yeah, I think those are just like my baseline people that I look up to and think do a very incredible job of always sounding really good.
Cool. This was fun. Thanks for watching. Hit like if you liked it. Subscribe to this Sweetwater channel because it's pretty sweet. It's a sweet channel. And if you get a chance, check out Maddie's music. The new record's amazing. The last record's amazing. Everything's amazing. And see her live. So, bye-bye.
Bye.